מזמור לדוד. אדוני רואי לא אכסר, בהינו דשא ירביצני, על מי מנוחות ינעלני. נפשי ישובב ינחני במקלי צדק למען שמו, גם כי אלק וקיצל מוות לא ידע כי אתה עמדי. שבטך ומשענתך המה ינחמוני, תערוך לפני שולחן נגד צורריי, הישנת בשמן ראשי כוסי רוויה. אך טוב וחסד ירדפוני כל ימי חיי, ושבתי בבית אדוני לאורך ימים. Words of the 23rd Psalm. Psalm of David. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. Giving me repose in green meadows, leading me beside the still waters to revive my spirit, guiding me on the right path, for that is God's essence. Though I walk through a valley of the shadow of death, I fear no harm, for you are with me. Your staff and your rod comfort me. You prepare a banquet for me in the presence of my foes. You anoint my head with oil, my cup overflows. Surely goodness and kindness shall be my portion all the days of my life, and I shall dwell in the house of Adonai forever. So we're all here this afternoon, sadly, to say goodbye to Selma Smordin of blessed memory, who was known to the Jewish people by her Hebrew name, Zelda et Arya Lev Medina, Zichronah Livracha, the daughter of Alan and Dina Sinaisky of blessed memory, the wife of the late Harold Smordin of blessed memory, the sister Martin Sinaisky of blessed memory, the mother of Marcy and Rick Allison, Susan and Arnold Sperles, Jill and Ron Steer, the grandmother, Jamie, Lee, Diana, Adrian, Carly, Tara, and Adam, the great-grandmother of Nathaniel, Ava, JJ, and Jacob. Selma passed away on January 7th, peacefully, surrounded by family, at the age of 86. Every Friday evening, during the Shabbat table, there is a beautiful tradition to sing a special Shabbat song known as Eshet Chayil, a woman of valor, in honor of the Jewish woman. The text is coming from Proverbs chapter 31st, and I would like to share with you some of its verses. It says, an Eshet Chayil, a woman of valor, who can find? She is more precious than rubies. Her husband places his trust in her and profits only thereby. She brings him good, not harm, all the days of her life. She gets up while it's still night to provide food for her household and a fair share for her staff. She opens her hands to the poor and reaches out her hands to the needy. When it snows, she has no fear for her household, since all of them are doubly clothed. She is robed in strength and dignity, and she smiles at the future. She opens her mouth with wisdom. A lesson of kindness is on her tongue. She looks after the conduct of her household and never tasted the bread of laziness. Her children rise up and make her happy. Her husband praises her. Many women have done wonderful things, but you surpass them all. Selma Smordin, blessed memory, was a true Eshet Chayil, a woman of valor, who set the tone of love, spirituality, and personal growth for all around her. But above all, Selma had a very special relationship with her beloved Harold that was evident both in the way they lived their lives and the way they died. And this reminds me to a story we read in the Torah last week. It's a beautiful story that can help us understand the strong connection between Selma and her husband. In the Torah, Judah approaches the viceroy of Egypt, who wanted to incarcerate his brother Benjamin. Judah explains that his father will surely die if he returns to his homeland and Benjamin is not with him, since, and I quote, Benjamin's soul is bound up with his father's soul. So the Torah presents a very interesting concept, that of two souls that can be connected to the point that if one is taken, the other cannot continue to be in this world alone. That was the kind of connection Selma had with Harold. To the point that when Harold passed away, all Selma wanted was to follow her husband to the world to come, to continue being together. They were like Abraham and Sarah, who devoted their lives to do acts of loving kindness, and also Abraham and Sarah died during the same Torah portion. In performing these acts of chesed, of loving kindness, Abraham and Sarah demonstrated by example how we are to behave in the world, how loving kindness is to infuse our actions and behavior each day of our lives. The rabbis say, a day that a Jew does not do a kindness is not considered a day in his or her life. Such a sentiment suggests that, like Abraham and Sarah, it is not enough to passively not do the wrong things. Rather, it is necessary to proactively seek out opportunities to do the right thing. In Judaism, kindness is more important than eating kosher or praying in a synagogue. And so we are to emulate our patriarchs, Abraham and Sarah. And Selma Smordin, of blessed memory, was a faithful disciple of Abraham and Sarah, dedicating her life to do good to others. And at the same time, that's something that I learned from the family when I met with them, Selma was well known for always going out with perfect hair, perfect makeup. In fact, the rabbis teach that we should try to always present ourselves the best we can. There was a famous rabbi, Rabbi Israel Salanter, that he will say that one's face has the status of Reshut Harabim, public domain. If one walks around with a sour look on his face, His faces bore the Reshut Rabim, a pit in a public area, and he's responsible for any damage caused by someone who falls or hurts himself on account of this pit. I'm sure Selma's look and style brought light and joy to so many people crossing paths with her. You see, there are actually two portions in the Torah, Chayei Sarah and Vayechi, which is this week's parsha, which contains the word Chai, life. It's in the title, Chayei Sarah Vayechi. But paradoxically, in these portions, we read about the death of two of our patriarchs and one of our matriarchs. And the rabbis explained that this is that way because it is only at the end of our lives that we can appreciate what kind of life we live. And out of the meaningful traditions we have in Jewish funerals, perhaps the most important one is the eulogy. This has biblical roots. And the word eulogy means a good word. Giving a eulogy is a way to honor a person's life, and it's also a way to provide comfort to those who are heartbroken. The eulogy expresses sorrow for the loss, yet it celebrates and finds meaning in the person's life. The eulogy is the tool to remind us that not everything gets buried. In fact, the most important part of our existence, our values, our contributions to society, to friends, to family, etc., stays with us. That's why I would like to call up Marcy, Susan, and Jill to come forward to eulogize their mother.
I am Marcy Allison, Selma Smordin's eldest daughter. Thank you for being here with us today to honor the memory of a remarkable woman, Selma Smordin. I have lost my wonderful mother, advisor, and mentor. I am grieving for the amazing relationship we had, but not for the fact that she's enjoying the company of my father once again. There was a true love story from their first date, although he never called for 8 months, to their wedding 65 years ago last month. After Dad's funeral, she turned to me and said, "I love you girls, but Harold needs me." She led by example on how to be a good wife and mother. She encouraged us, advised us, and even pushed us when required. But most of all, she loved us. She lived the adage, it's not important what you do for them, but with them. She was a great Baba, as my children will attest, and that makes me a great Baba too, to my grandchildren Nathaniel, Ava, JJ, and Jacob Harold. My mom was a great volunteer who gave freely of her time and taught us to do the same. She wrote many stories, plays, and poems. She loved singing, not always to our delight, especially when we went to Rainbow Stage, where she would sing wholeheartedly along. One of my fondest memories was going to the Sound of Music sing-along with her. The hills were certainly alive that day. My mom was a social person, as you all know, loving to meet family and friends for dinner, coffee, whatever. My children used to ask me, is there anyone in Winnipeg who doesn't know Baba? We were always stopped by someone who knew her anytime we went anywhere in Winnipeg. I would FaceTime them at the Simpkins Center when I was with my grandchildren, her great-grandchildren, and it never failed to give a sparkle to her eye. When I told my dear childhood friend of Mom's passing, she remarked, "Oh no, where will I get my advice from now on?" Mom always gave the best advice. even if it wasn't always what you wanted to hear. Most importantly, she gave us a sense of fairness and pride in ourselves. This developed into the strength we have today, and I'm drawing on this strength to tell her goodbye. As we went out on our own, she was quick to share all her recipes. I remember she carefully taught me how to make gefilte fish. I served the fish proudly until I discovered she forgot to tell me to season the water before boiling the fish. My sisters and I used to write a poem for special occasions when we came to Winnipeg. So here's my poem, Mom, one last time. I always started by saying, since I'm on my way home, I guess it's time for another poem. This one I wish I never had to say. Gathering with family and friends, Mom, it's for you we pray. I know you're looking down from above, and I'm hoping you can see and feel all the love. Although we are physically apart, you will live forever in all our hearts. I love you, Mom.
I am rarely at a loss for words, but my mother's passing has left me quite speechless. After all, how do you describe my mom, what type of person she was, and what valuable lessons that we have learned from her? She was a beautiful person, both inside and out. We all know that she would never leave a room or go out in public without her hair combed to perfection and her lipstick applied in the most flattering shade. She prided herself in the image she presented to others, and it showed in her soft, youthful skin and enduring smile. Mom also prided herself in her volunteer work. She was a member of Hadassah and read books for the visually impaired for more than 20 years. She ended up being on the Simpkin Center Resident Council, where she enjoyed sharing her opinions, and she had many. In that, we do want to thank all of the staff at the Simpkin Center for their exemplary care. They were more than caregivers. They were family, not just for them, but for us too. My mom was also very sharp when it came to word games and trivia. I spent many a happy afternoon challenging her to boggle or Scrabble. It was only in my later years that I finally won a few rounds. Mom rarely missed an episode of Jeopardy, and I felt honored that we were able to watch one of the greatest of all time's episodes on her last night. Mom surrounded herself with great people. She loved her Y group, the Gabalots, her St. John's crew, and her many card-playing lifelong friends. We know she'll be starting her PAN group this Tuesday with Zena and Vita. One of the many lessons I learned from my mother was patience. I probably explained how to use the Shaw TV remote at least 500 times, as she never seemed to grasp the workings. At least that was her excuse. By the way, I did take that remote as a memento when we cleaned up the room. Arnie, Deanna, Adrian, and myself were very fortunate to be able to share a lot of our lives with my parents, living down the street from them for decades. We enjoyed going out for lunch or taking them lunch first at the Shaftesbury and then at the Simpkin Center. We know that there'll be a big gap in our lives. No more after-school phone calls. No more shopping trips to buy chocolates and sweets. No more park visits. And no more Saturday lunches, to name a few. We'll truly miss these times. Above all, my sisters and I know that we are a product of a great love story. My mom and dad were married just shy of 65 years. We knew they needed to be together forever. We were just hoping that it was not going to be this soon. We know they're watching us right now with pride while holding hands again. We love you, Mom. Know that you'll be in our hearts and minds forever.
Mom was an extraordinary person who led an extraordinary life. Everyone always loved Mom. It didn't matter where you went and what you did. She would run into a family member or an old friend, and everyone was always excited to be with her. She was a masterful storyteller. She made every story intriguing and captivating. You hung on her every word. You wanted to be with her and share her zest for life. It was contagious. Mom set an incredible example for us. She taught us about love, the value of having a close family and a wide circle of friends, to be inclusive and always try your best. Mom taught us to love as she loved Dad so deeply. Their marriage of 64 years was unparalleled. We got to witness such a wonderful relationship. Their love for one another was so strong that we feel that they couldn't be apart. Therefore, here we are today. Mom loved her kids so much and was beyond proud of us. She loved talking on the phone nightly, sharing stories, while loving the conversations about the day's events. She loved talking about the latest recipes, who wore what at the awards shows, and how your day went. I just loved being around her. She was so much fun, whether we went shopping, to a sporting event, the Sun and Swim Club, Rainbow Stage, or Assiniboine Park. Mom also loved to cook and was an expert chocolate maker. She tried so many different recipes, of which I still make today. Mom wasn't afraid to use the china, as she felt we were all special enough to use it. She loved hearing what was doing in Toronto. She played an active role in our lives and was genuinely interested in what we ate at the restaurant or at friends. I would often ask me when I would stop being a Bruce Springsteen groupie. She loved to hear how much fun I had at concerts, and she got excited for me. She even called me to tell me he was on TV. I lived at home as an adult until the age of 23 and was lucky to be a witness to and experience her loving ways. Many a night we sat at the kitchen table drinking late night coffees, just talking about life. No wonder the two of us couldn't sleep. Mom was delighted to be surrounded by family and friends. She loved being around people. She relished in the planning, preparation, and cooking for the annual Hanukkah parties with many cousins. She traveled with Dad often and with their family members, cruising cousins and her beloved brother, our Uncle Marty and Auntie Elaine. They loved going to LA to see everyone, and they all made an effort to get together. She said, "You need to make that effort." This bond has continued as we are so close with our cousins, and we will always continue with this warm and loving relationship. She also had so many lifelong friends. Friendships were important to her. Living in the Balforia apartments with Bob and Zeta and so many relatives and friends was so meaningful and fun for her. There were always people at our house or cottage. Her Y group, the Gabalots, which was formed when they were in grade 6, has always meant so much to her. These women are still in touch with each other on a regular basis. Mom loves so many other things too, such as playing pan and mahjong with her special friends every single Tuesday for over 50 years. She also loved playing family games. I don't think I ever beat her at Scrabble and Boggle or even Sorry or Tippet. Even recently, she came up with a word during Scrabble that none of us heard of, but indeed, she was correct. Mom was also inclusive. She never left people out and didn't want them to be alone for any holiday, so our dining room table got bigger and bigger. As the table grew, it took many years for us to not be seated at the kids' table. She taught us to be inclusive as young children, not only through her dinners, but she got us involved when I was about 9 years old to go to Portage La Prairie regularly to volunteer with children with developmental disabilities. Like Dad, she also volunteered, whether it was through the Synagogue Sisterhood or through her volunteer work at the annual Purim carnivals or reading textbooks for blind students at the CNIB. She delighted in our own accomplishments, but also the grandchildren's. Boy, did she love those grandchildren. The special moments that she created with them were beyond special and unforgettable. She took a deep interest in them. My kids, Carly, Tara, and Adam, are who they are today because their Baba was such a wonderful role model. With Mom, there was no such word as in-law. She treated my husband, Ron, as a son. They had an incredible relationship. What son-in-law would complain to his mother-in-law that a 10-day visit to Toronto was just too short? Mom taught us to try our best. You didn't have to be perfect whatsoever, just to try your best. And through that, you would develop self-worth. She taught me to make big decisions and not to be afraid to really live life to the fullest. She really was my biggest cheerleader. Mom also gave incredible advice. When deciding if I should move to Toronto, she said, if you don't go, you will always wonder what if. So she encouraged me to move there. I don't think I could be that big of a person and give the same advice to our kids. I will miss your laugh, words of encouragement, and all of your life lessons. You were my mentor. I will continue to honor you through my actions, my love of family and friends, inclusivity, and will always try my best, even at this time of utter heartbreak. Please give Dad a huge hug from us and tell him we miss him terribly and we love him. Give Baba and Zeta and Uncle Marty and our other relatives a huge hug from us too. Mom, I can't imagine not sharing the day's events with you. I love you so much.
Thank you. I would like to invite now Selma's grandchildren to come forward to say a few words about their Baba.
When thinking about what to write about Baba, it was incredibly tough to nail it down to just a few things because Baba was so many different things to so many different people. You can already hear from my aunts and my mom just the different roles she played for each of them. She was a mentor, an advice giver, a friend, a volunteer. But to me, she was Big Bob, the gambler. I was Diamond Jim. And even at 10 years old, there was no mercy in taking all my pennies when we played blackjack. She was the hydro police who made sure that me and my sister turned off all the lights in the house, and we'd get a fine from the hydro police when we forgot. She was a genius in that she was able to complete the crossword every week in pen with rarely making a mistake. Baba was a creative, whether it be singing songs or telling stories, or doing arts and crafts. One of the things that we were talking about after the passing of Zeta is how Baba kept us entertained with games like putting glue on a piece of paper and then putting sand on top of that glue. And my sister, now that she has kids, is like, I can't believe Baba let us do that. Like, what a mess that would have been in the house. But Baba didn't mind a bit. Baba was also the keeper of the family history. If you went to her house and looked at the wall, you would see generations of history and different family members, and Baba could tell you not only what their names were, but what role that they played in the family story. And I think it's very important to understand where you came from to know who you are. So in that regard, Baba played a huge role. But most of all, she was just my Baba. She was a source of unconditional love and support, and I know she's always there and proud of me. Zeta always took a very keen interest in my schooling and my career. So when I talked to him on the phone, he was very interested to see how I was doing. But Baba took a very keen interest in me as a person and how I was doing. Any problem I had, she'd call it a glitch. So if I had any glitches, she'd say, you just call Baba and I'll take care of those glitches. If you need to make a phone call, I'll make a call. I never took her up on that, but I know that if I gave her a phone number, she would have been on the phone in 2 seconds. She just would have had to find one of her wireless phones, strewn about the house first. Bob always took care of Zeta so well, and so we know that this is just how it had to be for them. I can only hope that 65 years of marriage for me, and that I have the same bond with my wife, and that I have my kids love me as much as her kids love her, and that her grandkids love her as much as we all love Baba. My sister and I used to spend our summers in Winnipeg, and every time we left, we'd record a tape for my Baba, and we'd talk about the things that we did that summer, and we always ended that tape by saying goodbye to Baba with a song. So I'd like to sing that song for Baba, or I'm going to try to get through it, and this is for both me and my sister. Bye, bye, Baba, goodbye. Bye, bye, Baba, don't cry. The aeroplane that takes me away from you, no words can say how sad that makes me. Kiss me, Baba, and then do it over again. Watch for the mail, I'll never fail. If you don't get a letter, then I'll know I'm in jail. Boo, boo, boo. Goodbye, Baba, goodbye. Bye, bye, Baba, goodbye. Bye.
Lesson this time. I wrote it all out. So, I know you've heard a lot of this already, but speaking for myself and my sister, our Baba taught us a lot and was a large influence on our lives. I'd like to share a few lessons that Baba stood by and has passed down to us. First, she taught us about friendship. And you can tell that she had a lot of friends, and we've all mentioned it. She would speak about her Gabalots, her bridge group on Tuesdays, and our PAN. I always would get that mixed up. And the Rady Center group, which I actually had a pleasure of meeting one time. I was invited one time to their class, and I was the only one that couldn't actually do the exercises, so I wasn't invited back. Second, she taught us about the importance of traditions. Every summer, whenever we go out to Kildonan Park, we could not leave until we visited the witch's hut. We also got really excited when we got back to the house, and Baba would tell us to go downstairs and pick out a chocolate mold. And I was always impressed when she made the pianos. Third, as everyone has mentioned, she has taught me the importance of a good lipstick. I always enjoyed going into her room and into the ensuite, and she would have this cabinet of makeup. And as she would put on her makeup, especially the concealer, after everything was done, she would say to me, "Okay, now hand me the lipstick." And from then on, I've always known that you really need a good lipstick, and you would not dare to go out without it. Fourth, she taught me about the importance of family. As many of you know, we grew up very close to my grandparents. Baba instilled in us that family came first, which is why I also think it's important to thank my mom and dad. They took care of my Baba and Zeta. My mom and my dad and I go grocery shopping every single Saturday morning. And in true traditional fashion, we meet at Tim Hortons and have the exact same conversation. What should we bring Baba for lunch? This has gone on for many years, and I know it's going to be hard for my parents to have Saturday mornings free again. And lastly, she taught us about love. My Baba and Zeta were together for a very long time. And I'm sure it's been really hard for her those last few months. They wanted to be together, and I know they are now. So Baba, we will miss you, but we know that you and Zeta will be together.
My Baba was an incredible, beautiful person inside and out, and was the best Baba in the entire world. I cherished our relationship so much. From young kids, Baba always made things so happy, fun, and enjoyable for us. From Assiniboine Park, her dinners, the cottage, playing word games, which she always won, and the trips to Toronto. One of my most cherished memories was at the cottage in Winnipeg Beach. Baba would have what we would call a special moment with each of us kids. We would get to go for a walk with Baba down the beach and along the rocks and have special time just together. I so looked forward to these times and honored these moments from a young age. It was not only these special moments, but I felt a special relationship with Baba throughout my life. This is something I'm going to carry forward and always remember. I am so lucky that I got to share and create so many special and meaningful memories. Baba acted as such an important role model in my life. As I got older, I learned that Baba and I are very similar in many ways, and we have many similar traits. Through her love of socializing, her love of chocolate, her perspectives about helping others, and her values for laughing. Baba loved to laugh and loved making others laugh. I would often call her just to hear her heartwarming laugh and share happy times and funny stories. Baba taught myself and all of us so many incredible things: how to enjoy the small things, how to have fun, and how to love. She had an inspiring and incredible relationship with our Zeta. She taught us about everlasting love, and she always said Zeta was her best friend. Baba was genuinely such a caring person. She always wanted to hear updates and was extremely supportive. Baba has had a huge influence on my life. Baba, I know you are proud of us, and I know that you love us. I will continue to try and make you proud each day and always cherish our special relationship. I cannot say enough about what you mean to me. It's very hard to capture. I'm going to miss you so much. And as you said, Baba, in your own words, I am sending you love by the trunk loads, and I will forever. Baba was a beautiful, brilliant, warm, and inspiring woman. We had such a special relationship, and we're really going to miss her. Our time spent together was always so appreciated, and she knew how much we adored her and Zeta. Baba always made us feel special. When we would visit Baba and Zeta, we never deviated from the plan. We would do nearly the same thing every summer, but this fostered such a deep love and appreciation for family traditions. Baba and Zeta would pick us up from the airport. We would drive home and enjoy a quality Winnipeg lunch with rye bread and corned beef. That night, Baba would make us a home-cooked meal. My favorite was her brisket and mushroom rice. She was such a good cook. That night, we would indulge in an entire genie's cake, and my mom and Baba would always fight over who gets the piece with the most chocolate flakes and cookie crust. The next morning, Baba would make her famous scrambled eggs, and we would head off to the zoo, Assiniboine Park, the steam train, English Gardens, Sergeant Sunday, and the bridge for ice cream. And then when it was time for bed, Baba would put us to sleep with magic sleep dust and a beautiful face. When it was time to separate, she sang us that goodbye song that Jamie sang, and we never loved that part so much. But we knew she was only just a phone call away to talk about life and what we would want on our Tushy Bum sandwiches. A few weeks ago, I talked to Baba and I said, Baba, what's on your Tushy Bum sandwich tonight? And she said, oh, I haven't had one of those in a while. In the last few years, Baba and Zeta needed some quality entertainment. So my sister and I would lip sync to popular musical theater songs, and her and Zeta would just be in awe, and they would clap and dance, and sometimes they really believed they were watching a Broadway show. The last couple visits with Baba and Zeta were so meaningful, and I'm beyond thankful for that time we got to spend with both of them. We would just sit and talk about how much we loved each other. We recounted all of the memories, all of the good times, and we got to reflect and share in each other's joy. I cherish deeply every moment we shared, and the list of moments is endless. Baba, you are the greatest person, and I will miss you always. I love you.
For those of you who were lucky to know my Baba, you would know she was and will always be one of the most special people on this earth. I honestly could have not asked for a better grandmother in the world, and I am beyond grateful. We got to build a relationship that will live on forever. Baba lived an amazing life as she married the man of her dreams, or as she would call him, my Prince Charming. And they held hands together for 64 years. Baba and Zeta were honestly just the best couple ever, and you could feel it every time they were in the room together. Everyone who knew Baba and Zeta knew them as the most loving, kind, caring couple in the world, and everyone just had so much respect for them both. My sisters and I were extremely fortunate to have built some incredible memories with Baba. From the moment we would land in Winnipeg, Baba and Zeta would stand at the bottom of the escalator, excited to see us running into their arms, and so excited to begin our annual summer vacation in Winnipeg. One of my first memories of going to Baba and Zeta's house was the breakfast. Baba would make us delicious scrambled eggs, and they were always so fluffy. And I asked Baba, "Why are they so delicious?" And she said, "Because I made them with love." Growing up, Baba and Zeta enjoyed taking us to the Witch's Hut, Steam Train, the zoo, Winnipeg Beach, and Playland. Baba loved singing Beautiful Face to us every night before we would go to bed, and as my sister said, she'd give us magic sleep dust as well. She also loved blowing bubbles with us when we would take baths as little kids. That was the best. I love that. Baba not only loved taking us on adventures, but she loved knowing what was going on in our lives. She was always thrilled to hear how I was doing in school, or if I had scored a goal at my last hockey game. She was always invested in our lives and was always there to support us both in good and bad times. Baba would tell me that she would sometimes have a high-stakes bet on the recent Jets game. As a nervous grandson, I asked, "How much would you be betting on these games, Baba?" And she would go, "Oh, I'd just bet a nickel." And I'd sigh in relief. Sometimes she would say, "I decided to double down and bet a dime." One of the most special memories I have of Baba was actually fairly recent, which were frequent Scrabble games. We were able to play a lot of Scrabble games with each other, whether it be just the two of us, or if my sisters were playing as well. I remember these games were filled with lots of joy and laughter. Baba would usually beat me, but to make me feel better, she claims we tied. One time the four of us played, my sisters and I and Baba, and I remembered I put down the word Obi because it helped me get so many points and helped me win the game. And knowing my sisters, they yelled, "That's not a word!" But Baba saved the day for me when, out of the blue, she says, "Obi is a Japanese sash, so it counts." From that moment on, we could not stop laughing about the game, and it made for an absolutely great memory. Baba, you have been an incredible influence in my life, and I will do my best every day to make you and Zeta proud. I hope you and Zeta are together for all eternity and looking down on us each and every day. I will love you forever, Baba, and that will never change.
Thank you all for sharing those memories with us. And I would like to share one more story that the family shared with me. It is about the time of the wedding. That Selma used to brag that he and Harold were the first wedding that Rabbi Burkle performed here in Winnipeg. So they were under the chuppah, and it looks like Rabbi Burkle was a little nervous. So he approached to them and he said, "How am I doing?" And he said, "How would I know? It's my first wedding too." Little she knew at the time the kind of bond that she was going to develop with Harold, to the point that they lived this wonderful 65 years together, and they left this world almost immediately, one after the other, to be together in the world to come. So at this point, I would like to ask you all to rise, to chant the El Maleh Rachamim, the memorial prayer, welcoming Selma to the Olam Haba. El Maleh Rachamim, Shochem Bameroimim, Hametzei Menucha Nechona, Tachat Kanfei במעלות קדושים, קדושים וטהורים, כזוהר הרקיע מזהירים את נשמת זלדה ותרי לבדינה שעליך לעולמה בעבור שאנו מתפללים ועד הצקרת נשמתה בגן עדן בגן עדן מנוחתה לכם על רחמים יחסתי ראיה וסדר כנפיו לעולמים וצרור בצרור החיים החיים את נשמתה אדוני ונחלתה ותנוח ושלום על משכבה ונאמר Amen. Exalted, compassionate God, grant infinite rest in your sheltering presence among the holy and pure to the soul of Selma Smordin, who has gone to her eternal home. Merciful One, we ask that our loved one find perfect peace in your eternal embrace. May her soul be bound up in the bond of life. May she rest in peace. And let us all say, Amen. You may be seated. In a few minutes, we are going to proceed in caravan fashion to the Sharizedek Cemetery, located in the corner of Armstrong and Main Street. Immediately after the cemetery, we're going to proceed with the meal of consolation that is going to be at 594 Oak Street. If you are not going to the cemetery first, just bear in mind that because it's kind of rush hour at this time, it's going to take us around an hour and 15 minutes, more or less, until we have to calculate about that time for the meal of consolation. It's going to be a few days of Shiva tonight from 7 to 9 p.m. with the evening service being chanted at 7 p.m. Tomorrow 1 to 3 p.m. and Saturday from 7 to 9 p.m. Shiva will also be at 594 Oak Street. So, with that, I would like to invite the pallbearers to exit the chapel now and to assume their places alongside Selma's coffin. As they get ready, let me give you a couple more announcements. If you're coming to the cemetery with us, please remember to turn on your four-way flashers. And also, please remember to stop at stop signs and red lights. We have a few photo radars in the way there, so you don't want a surprise in your mail. So please bear in mind to stop in the way to the cemetery. I was told that used to be a time where funerals could go through red lights. That's not the reality anymore. I'd like to invite the family to exit now. And for the rest of us, once you exit the chapel, please remember to exit the building to form 2 lines outside through which the coffin could find its way to the hearse. And thank you all for coming.